real-life perfect boyfriend relies solely on her looks because that's all she's ever known.
Sarah Michelle Gellar reached a level of television fame that most actors spend entire careers chasing. She anchored a series that redefined genre television, shaped a generation of viewers, and became a permanent cultural reference point. Then, at the height of that influence, she stepped away. Not abruptly, not in scandal, but with a quiet finality that left Hollywood asking why someone so central to a landmark success chose distance over continuation. Before continuing, Hollywood Spoiler Zone invites viewers to like this video and subscribe to the channel for professionally narrated documentaries that examine the forces operating behind fame and longevity. Sarah Michelle Gellar's rise was not accidental. Long before Buffy the Vampire Slayer became a global phenomenon, she had already built a reputation as a disciplined and reliable performer. Her early work in television and film established her as someone capable of carrying demanding material under intense production schedules. When Buffy premiered, it was initially perceived as a risk. A genre blend led by a young woman was far from a guaranteed success. What followed exceeded expectations. As Buffy Summers, Gellar delivered a performance that balanced strength with vulnerability, humor with trauma. The series evolved beyond its supernatural premise, addressing identity, power, and loss in ways that elevated it above conventional network television. Over 7 seasons, the show became a defining cultural artifact. Gellar's workload during that period was relentless. Extended shooting hours, physically demanding scenes, and the pressure of leading a long-running series placed sustained demands on her time and health. At the same time, Hollywood's attention intensified. Film offers followed, brand opportunities expanded, and her public profile grew beyond television. Yet the success carried constraints. Gellar became closely identified with a single role, one so iconic that it shaped expectations around her future work. As the series approached its conclusion, the industry anticipated a seamless transition into larger film dominance. Instead, her career took a more restrained turn. When Buffy ended, Gellar did not pursue an aggressive expansion of her on-screen presence. Appearances became selective. Projects were spaced further apart. To observers, it appeared as a withdrawal from momentum at the precise moment it should have accelerated. This decision marked the beginning of a quieter phase, one that would challenge assumptions about ambition, fulfillment, and what success is meant to look like after defining an era. As Sarah Michelle Gellar moved beyond Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the expectations surrounding her career became increasingly rigid. Hollywood often treats landmark success as a launchpad rather than a destination. In Gellar's case, the industry anticipated immediate escalation, bigger films, broader exposure, a sustained presence at the center of popular culture. What followed instead was a measured deceleration that many misread. In the years after the series ended, Gellar did continue working, but without urgency. Film roles came and went, some successful, others less so. None were designed to replace Buffy, and none appeared intended to. The common assumption was that momentum had been lost. A closer examination suggested something different. The pace had changed because the priorities had changed. Gellar spoke openly about the toll of long-term television production. 7 consecutive years of leading a series left little room for recovery or reflection. The schedule was punishing, the responsibility constant. Unlike actors who rotate through short projects, she had carried a single production for nearly a decade. That experience reshaped how she viewed sustainability within the industry. At the same time, personal life became a stabilizing factor. Marriage and family introduced a framework that competed directly with the demands of continuous production. Hollywood rarely adapts its expectations to accommodate that shift, particularly for women whose careers are expected to maintain uninterrupted visibility. Gellar chose otherwise. She declined opportunities that conflicted with that balance, even when doing so meant reduced exposure. This period also coincided with broader industry changes. Television itself was transforming. The rise of prestige cable and later streaming altered how success was measured. Yet the generation that defined network television was often left navigating that transition without a clear path forward. Gellar did not aggressively reposition herself within the new ecosystem. She waited, evaluated, and opted for selective engagement. Public narratives continued to frame her absence as retreat. The underlying reality was more controlled. She was not forced out, nor was she disengaged. She was cautious, the kind of caution that emerges after carrying both creative and logistical weight for years without pause. This middle chapter reframed her career, not as stalled, but as deliberately constrained. A refusal to equate longevity with constant presence. In later years, Sarah Michelle Gellar's relationship with Hollywood settled into a form of quiet equilibrium. She did not reject the industry outright, nor did she chase a return to its center. Instead, she engaged selectively, appearing when projects aligned with her values and withdrawing when they did not. This balance stood in contrast to the narrative that once framed her as a star who had stepped away too soon. As cultural conversations evolved, so did the interpretation of her choices. Discussions about burnout, creative exhaustion, and the long-term cost of constant production reshaped how her post-Buffy years were viewed. What had once been labeled a loss of momentum began to resemble an early assertion of boundaries. Gellar's experience offered a counterpoint to the idea that success must be continuously visible to remain valid. Her legacy, however, remained intact. Buffy the Vampire Slayer continued to influence television, academia, and fan culture long after its conclusion. The endurance of that impact reinforced the significance of her contribution. She did not need to replicate it. The work had already achieved permanence. That distinction matters in an industry that often demands repetition to maintain relevance. When Gellar did return to acting, it was without the pressure to redefine herself. Appearances were framed not as comebacks, but as extensions of a career that had simply taken a different shape. She maintained creative control, prioritized balance, and resisted the cycles of overexposure that had defined earlier stages of her life. From a broader perspective, her story illustrates a shift in how success can be measured. Gellar did not disappear because opportunities ended. She stepped back because the costs outweighed the rewards. That decision, once misunderstood, now reads as strategic rather than hesitant. For Hollywood Spoiler Zone, her trajectory represents a quieter form of departure, one rooted not in scandal or collapse, but in discernment. In choosing when to engage and when to step away, Sarah Michelle Gellar redefined what longevity can look like in an industry that rarely encourages restraint.